G'day Facebook world and the world of fitness. This is Coach Gaz with you, just adjusting my lighting team. There we go, much better for this AGA, Ask Gaz Anything, and I want to get right into it. So the purpose of this segment is to answer your questions in the way only I can, with my knowledge, my experience, my background and my insight. Some people think I'm intelligent. I think I'm intelligent. Some other people might not think so, but I'm going to try and give you guys some useful knowledge in a way that's practical and to some degree individualized. So that's why I encourage you guys to ask the questions and each week I will aim to address them. Next week, we are covering things around Feb fasting. So getting off sugar, alcohol, coffee and all that sort of stuff. We'll address that. So please submit your questions. If you're watching this live, give me some feedback. Let me know how the segment is going and whether you like it and love it or you don't. If you're watching on replay, same thing. And if I tag you in it, it's because you've submitted a question, and thank you very much for that. So the first thing we're going to cover is hydrotherapy. So hydrotherapy is basically usually used, it's a warm water environment. It reduces the impact on the joints, and it's more of a gentle type of exercise that people use to overcome things that are, chronic pain disorders, arthritis, inflammation. If you didn't know a little bit of the suffix itis is inflammation of anything. So arthritis is inflammation of the joints. For example, dermatitis is inflammation of the skin. So it's generally used as a therapy to help people get moving. Now, whilst I love the benefits that regular hydrotherapy can provide for some people, and I'm not taking away from the efficacy of it, the problem that I have with that kind of therapy is much like I have the problem with things like regular massages and soft tissue treatments that you don't do yourself and you don't control, and you have no awareness of what it was actually occurring and what is causing your pain. You see, the thing is that even with joints that have suffered a lot of injury, if you're in a state where you're constantly inflaming that joint due to dysfunctional movement, nutritional elements or other aspects, you're constantly poking the bear. And so if you just submit yourself to, I'm going to go to hydrotherapy once a week and I feel better because of it, that is brilliant as part of your overall strategy, but you can't always take a warm water pool with you, right? You without that warm water therapy, you're a little bit lost. So the goal is to actually address why, and this question was from Margot. Thank you, Margot, for the question. The question is to ask is, why am I doing hydrotherapy? What do I get out of it? What do I know about how exactly it helps me and helps address not just the symptoms of pain, but maybe dig a bit deeper into the causes? And how can I replicate that on my own in other ways? And by doing something like that, you start to develop an overall strategy. You're empowered to do it. You can take it with you and you can really play with this at a deeper level. So hopefully that answers your question about hydrotherapy. Margot, fun fact, I'm a terrible swimmer. I'm taking swimming lessons this year just so I can keep up with my 6-year-old and my 3-year-old as we live by the bay. But that is beside the point. Second question. This is from Lorenzo Rigoni, Director of Terrain Consulting, good client of ours, and a great question. He's done amazing things to improve his activity levels, change over his life, and reduce back pain. But he's sent me this question, which I think is a fantastic question at this time of year. So, you've had a break from work and the stresses of 2020. You're refreshed, relaxed, recharged. Everything should be good. And you've even kept up some exercise and activity whilst on the Christmas break. But your routine exercise regime is out of sync. He wants some tips and guidance on how to get back in the zone. And this is where exercise is not compartmentalized. We can't just go, oh, this is what I do for exercise, this is what I do for the rest of my life. You need to have a look at your whole life and you need to ask yourself a question. Am I going to perform highly in areas that enrich my life and make me feel more like myself, my best version of myself, to hit that cliche? Because what you need to do is you need to look at your schedule and you need to map your schedule out. Now, whenever I map my schedule out or advise clients to do that, I get them to start with what they can control and what they can influence. Life happens, right? If you've got family commitments, work commitments, everything else, you're in life and life happens. That means there's a lot of variables. However, there's always things you can control and you can influence. And being in the zone continually is a matter of always having that focus on what can I control, what can I influence? Because ultimately you want to bring it back to what can I do for myself? Now, being in the industry that I'm in and the kind of person that I am, too many times I've given so much to others that I have nothing left in my tank. Well, this year is different, even more so evolved. I'm focused on filling my tank as much as possible so it's overflowing. And that way I operate at the best level of myself in the right areas. And then it's easier for me to give and be in the zone because I don't feel like I'm robbing myself every time I go and interact with others. So, for example, Laurie runs a very successful and upstanding company, and he's got a lot of commitments on himself. Getting in the zone is putting himself as a priority and making sure that when he goes to do other things in his life, he doesn't feel like he's constantly robbing himself. So he feels like his life is enriched, not like it's just another thing to do on his to-do list. Oh, I have to exercise. Why? Because it's on my to-do list. Oh, it's just in my schedule. Put an intention behind it. What is the intention behind you eating in a way that enriches your life? What is the intention behind you exercising in a particular way? Going for your run, doing your strength training, doing your mobility or correctives. What is the emotive intention with it? And I'm doing things like my movement recovery session today that I do on Wednesdays. It can be a grind. It's actually pretty hard work for me moving my body in ways that it inherently wanted to shut down with, but it's about me building in agility. And that agility is an emotional connection for me to be able to adapt to the changing circumstances of life. So hopefully that makes sense. Laurie, go over your whole schedule and look at what you need in your life to fill your cup. Focus on your controllables, put them in, and make sure that they help you perform your best in the right areas. Make sure you put emotion attentions through that and what they are helping you build, develop, or include in your life. You also want to add in elements of challenge, right? You want to add in elements that, and Laurie did Spartans with us last year, or the year before last year, and, adding those elements of challenge that ask you to rise up, ask you to have that little bit of nervousness, that little bit of excitement that you can overcome. And then you use social elements in that in terms of supporting and hanging around people who are also motivated to do that, engaging in conversations about it and interactions about it, and leadership, leading other people to help them get in the zone. Because when you lead, you're focused on a controllable that empowers you and gives you that sense of satisfaction and giving back. And when you do that, it becomes bigger than yourself and bigger than your own needs. You really are using that overflow from your tank to give to others. That's a big answer. Hopefully it helps your answers or your questions, Laurie. By the way, if there's something I only half answer in these AGAs or you want more detail on, just hit me up and I'll answer it on a subsequent one. Thank you, Troy, for watching. Tales, thank you for watching. This is a good one. How do you approach heavy beer drinkers, i.e. 2 slabs a week, with reluctance to reduce at present? So they're drinking two slabs a week and they are reluctant to reduce. It's not beer, by the way, it's coffee. Okay, and this is courtesy of John Daly. So John, look, there are a couple of different ways I would approach this, but it would really be on which direction I take it first would be dependent on the person and the discussion that I have with people, especially initially, on what would be the exact next step. But for the purposes of today, I'm going to begin with that try to determine what their reluctance is based upon. Is it an emotional coping mechanism to deal with stress or pain in their life? Is that the way they cope? John, I think you just tuned in, so this is your question. Is it social in terms of, is it how they relate to their friends or family? You know, tradies, it's a great example. I know some wonderful tradies, and just part of the culture is when you catch up with your mates, no matter the occasion, you have a beer, and you have several beers. And it's just the way that people relate to it. And they're not even the fact that they enjoy it, it's just something that they do. And in another way that they may like approach this is that they may never have actually thought about how much they consume. It just forms part of their weekly shopping list. Oh, I need to go to Coles, I need to go to Aldi, I need to go to Dan Murphy's and pick up 2 slabs, boom, and then they just drink it. So you got to dig down a little bit and find out exactly what is their relationship with alcohol and why is it included in their life. You won't always get an initial insight for it. People aren't always willing to talk about it. So it may be something that you have to shelve for a little bit later and gradually explore. But we do want to understand their relationship with it. All right. In terms of training, now specifically you asked about training. Based off that additional volume, I would most likely schedule it just before they start their drinking session. So if they're drinking, they're breaking those 2 slabs down to every. Oh, I thought we were talking about it. That's all right, John. I gotta give you specifics here, mate. So it's 5 to 6 at night, right? So I would schedule training before you start your drinking. So if you typically have a beer at dinner, you need to get your training in just before dinner. And the reason I say that is because often when you have a few at night, right? Let's say you're having them at night, your sleep will be compromised. You'll wake up the next morning a bit dusty, and it's really not the best time for you to exercise because your body's just trying to reboot. You need time for the caffeine to kick in. You need time to be rehydrated. You need time to refuel and shake off the cobwebs. Now, the other thing is that if you schedule it just before your drinking session, you may find that the positive effects of that naturally help you reduce the amount you consume at night. It's not guaranteed. If it happens, it happens. Awesome. If it doesn't happen, don't beat yourself up about it. But giving yourself that timing allows you to have a physiological recovery period, and it also allows you to kind of set yourself up. So there's a possibility that you won't drink. John says, comment to wife to wind down from a couple 5 to 6 and don't think they can give up. That's all right. We're not asking them to give up. Let's see if we can introduce other elements that help them feel more capable and help them feel like the option is there if they want to give up, and it's okay if they don't, it's okay if they do, all right? Often and this is the fault of the fitness industry and many other industries, is that we're all looking for these quick fixes, these transformations, and that culture is kind of perpetuated. Often the most profound and deepest transformations, they'll have a big impact at the start because you're starting something new, but the rest of it will be progressive. And if someone's gradually whittling down from 6 beers to 5 beers to 4 beers, all right, or the frequency is coming down, I'm not too fussed, all right? I can't fix everything in someone's life just at the snap of my fingers. I'm a wizard, but I'm not that much of a wizard that can do it for everyone. So we're looking at gradual changes. So schedule the training just before their drinking sessions. If they're having a bigger session a couple of times a week, then look at your weekly schedule and how you adjust the training for that. Coming from a history of big drinking sessions back in the day, that's one of the ways I would approach it. Now, if they have dysfunctions that cause them pain in daily movements, let's talk about training. If they have dysfunctions that cause them pain, so we talked about hydrotherapy earlier before. If they have joint dysfunctions or things that every time they go to exercise, they are falling back and feeling frustrated because they're in pain, those dysfunctions need to be addressed because we're looking to reduce the symptom of pain. It allows people to feel stronger about themselves, more capable, and it allows them to move forward in a more positive mindset. So if it's a pain thing, do things to address the pain, but you also have to include elements of training that they really enjoy. It may not be physiologically, it may not be exactly what they need, but if they feel like they really enjoy some strength training, address their pain, give them strength training. If they enjoy, getting their heart rate up and breathing and that cardio base, address their pain and move them into muscular endurance and cardio base. and just let them enjoy it for what it is, all right? Physiologically or weight loss wise, don't give a stuff. I just want them to enjoy it so they feel more capable, and then they start to overcome that inertia and become that gradual shift. And look, I've had to work with clients for years and they've enjoyed a drink more often than they've not. And the thing I take focus in as a coach is that I'm still moving their health forward. And it may not be a 12-week thing, but their health is still moving forward. Lastly, I would look at what positive and productive inputs they have. And what I would most likely start with is the movement. It's a good way to start, and then sneak in additional nutritional elements. Spirulina is a good one to include because it helps increase the bile acids and break down fats in the diet. I would look at making sure that they're getting some caffeine, but they're not relying on things like energy drinks. So caffeine can actually be quite good for our health. About 400 milligrams can actually help with good liver health and well as other things. But if you're having a big drinking session and then the night after you're getting a Monster every day, well, that's not just caffeine. There's other elements that are going into it that are negatively affecting your health. So look at elements like that. Let me know, give me a thumbs up if this is helpful, enjoyable, wonderful, or give me a thumbs down privately if it's not what you want. Okay, Dinesh, thank you Dinesh for your question. His question is, what do you advise a person who gets very tired very fast while doing exercise? Speaking of fast, if I'm speaking too fast, let me know. So look, first of all, I'll look at what you're trying to get started with, Dinesh. Often when we try to exercise again, we've been sitting on this feeling for so long and it's time for us to flip the switch. We want to do everything at once. Guilty, right? And it's an ego thing, and it's like, oh, I got to get started now because I've done nothing for so long. So look at the frequency, the intensity, the time, and the type of training that you're trying to do right now. And is it actually mapped out? Is it a phase by phase strategy, or is it just something that you feel like you should be doing because maybe you've been struggling to exercise for a long time? Again, challenges can be interesting for this because the whole purpose of a fitness challenge is to get you moving, but sometimes the volume, the frequency, intensity, time, and type of exercise goes up so quickly that you're stuffed. And exercise is part of your life, it's not everything. So if you've got kids, a job, business, whatever on in your life, and you're so tired you can't function, well, it's not really a sustainable thing, and neither is it necessarily the most positive thing for you in the short term. So look at the frequency, how many times a week do you exercise, the intensity, at what levels am I trying to push myself straight away, the time, how long am I trying to train each week, and the type, are you changing up the type of exercise that you're doing? And so you can do gentler, slower sessions as well as the big sweaty sessions. When you're training, keep an eye on the recovery sets between your efforts. So if you're doing things like high intensity interval training, people get it wrong because they go hard effort, tiny rest, try to go a hard effort again, tiny rest, trying to go a hard effort. And that's not actually HIIT training as it's supposed to be. It's not it at all, actually. It's high volume, but the intensity is down. And so you're missing the actual intended impact that you're trying to get from your intensity training. If you're doing something like strength training, for example, and you're looking, or hypertrophy, you're looking at a rest break that allows you to reboot your short duration energy systems and allow you to put the maximum effort, thank you Deadpool, maximum effort into your next set. Too short and you don't reboot sufficiently enough. Too long and you miss out on the conditioning aspects of that break, and plus your workouts go forever and you never get through them all. So have a look at those durations between your efforts, because they can make a big difference not only to your intensity of your workout, but how you actually convey yourself. And if you're looking at energy levels, well, you always want to be a little bit taxed, right? Sitting on your couch is hard work. You're working hard at doing nothing. You're going to be stepping outside of yourself during the workout. You're going to get a little bit tired. You're going to get a little bit sweaty, but it shouldn't be the point of you hate it so much that it takes you 3 weeks to face yourself in the gym again. It's too much, too much. Let me know if that helps, Dinesh. Look at your sleep also, mate, the quality and quantity of it. It can be hampered by things like randomness of your going to bed time, wake up time, the environment that you're sleeping in, too hot, too cold, too stuffy, too light, whatever. It can be hampered by your nutritional intake in terms of what are you eating. Are you eating really heavy meals, your body's digesting and you're not really uncomfortable? You're drinking like your 3 liters of water 20 minutes before bed, and so you pee 8 times a night and you only get up 6. I don't know. Is it your sleeping position and your ability to breathe? Are you I snore like a wounded seal, right? Like it's just how I'm built. It's part of my charm. But I have to sleep on my side in order to alleviate the snoring, because when I don't, I actually stop, especially when I'm heavier, I'll get sleep apnea and I'll interfere with my own breathing. And that affects the quality of my sleep because I'm never in a really deep restorative range. So I find I sleep a lot better on my side, and times when I sleep more on my back, quality goes down. Nutrition we talked about. In terms of nutrition as well, the timing of your meal in relation to your workouts, what kind of food you're ingesting, and if you're eating it too soon before your workout, your body's digesting that stuff and it's going to take a lot of your body's energy just to process it. And timing of the exercise. What are your high energy points of the day? Gear it towards that. Even if it's just 10 minutes and you get a stint right in the middle of the day where you get an upsurge of energy typically, take that 10 minutes, invest it into some activity and build off that, all right? So there's some multiple strategies there. Whew. Krista, thanks for watching. Thank you so much for the shout out. Krista is a wonderful trainer based over across the pond. She's fantastic, and she gave me a shout out the other day, which I greatly appreciate. So thank you, Krista. I appreciate you, and it's great to have you here. Give me some critical feedback, mate. All right, so the last thing is, can I talk about supplements, but specifically stuff like pre-workouts, glutamine, L-carnitine, and not just vitamins? Okay. Supplements are tricky, and this is courtesy of Haley. Awesome question, big topic, awesome question. I'm going to try and give you guys some direction on this. So supplements are very much unregulated, right? And the problems that we have with supplements is that people can make all sorts of claims, and they're not necessarily true. Or they're true for an ingredient in their supplement mix, but they haven't actually put in an effective dose. Or they made a claim of the benefits of that particular supplement, and it's not been studied. There's no conclusive evidence about it. It was one study or a couple of studies guarded a certain way to skew the results, or the study itself was legitimate and it's been misconstrued by other sources like media. So it can be a minefield, absolutely. Hales, I know you're tuning in, so this is your question, mate, about supplements. So I'm gonna put this into something like pre-workouts. So pre-workouts exploded a number of years ago, right? We're in a culture where we're working more 24/7, we're online more, our sleep's compromised, our nutrition has been compromised for a long time. So people are looking for that additional edge, that kick. And it becomes that element of, if I need to work out, then I need to have a pre-workout to amp up my energy, get me in the state that's ready to exercise. So things like caffeine naturally get introduced into pre-workouts. Beta-alanine was introduced into pre-workouts because it didn't necessarily affect your training, but it gave you a tingly feeling. And with that tingly feeling, that kind of paresthesia, you feel like you got a buzz, right? Even though it may have had no additional elements to your training, no discernible elements to it. Creatine is one of the best supplements, and it's one of the most widely studied supplements. So it's one of our go-tos, but there's even different types of creatine. And I just go for a straight, as unprocessed as possible, pure creatine, and that's it in terms of a workout supplement. So with the pre-workouts, I would look at questions like, Dinesh, are you trying to prop yourself up continuously because you're not getting good quality sleep or you don't have the energy? Do you have other elements like you're drinking a lot with John Daly? Well, in that case, you probably don't need a pre-workout where you're straining your system more. You just need to address some of the other elements. Why are you trying to take that pre-workout, and who says it's great? Is it the person in the shop? Is it the person that's invested in that brand and trying to sell it, right? Even though their intentions may be pure, they may have been duped as well. Or is it someone that goes, you know what, this is something that you're lacking, and this is something that we feel could be beneficial to you. Now, even if we feel it's beneficial to you, you need to test it out on yourself, because there's a lot of variables here. So if you're taking something and the purported effects are supposed to be one thing and you're genuinely feeling something else, then I would stop taking it, right? They're like turmeric is great for inflammation, but it can really upset your digestive system as well, especially in the way that it's processed. So if you're taking turmeric for things like arthritic conditions and it's not agreeing with you, then it's probably not the right strategy for you. So be mindful of things like that. Haley specifically mentioned glutamine. Glutamine is typically sold as a training aid. You'll find it a lot in supplement stores to aid in training and recovery. But the thing is, how glutamine is actually digested and processed, and where it's processed, it actually has a lot more benefit for digestive issues than for muscle building or strength building. So glutamine is better for digestive, but if you're spending money on it to aid your training, then there's probably a better supplement that you can take for that, right? Your proteins or your creatines or even beetroot oil. L-carnitine is typically used as a fat burner, specifically around the belly, right? But a lot of the studies, or some of the studies, were done on rats, not on humans. Now, some people may have a closer relationship to rats than others, but it's not necessarily proven on humans. And in the case of even if it did have an effect, what kind of rat did it have an effect on? Was it an old rat, a young rat? Was it one that was morbidly obese and it improved them to a certain level? Or was it a young, fit, virile rat that was already quite shredded, and then they put L-carnitine into its diet and then he got even more ripped? I don't know. You have to look at those studies for it. So if you're investing money in L-carnitine as a fat burner, well, cortisol has an effect on adipose tissue and belly fat, and that's related to your stress management and how you handle life. So if you're constantly freaking out and stressed and overwhelmed and overloaded, and then you're investing in L-carnitine to drop your body fat, well, you're probably pissing money up the wall. But if you're switching around the other way and you're starting to make some positive impact on your lifestyle, and that's helping manage your stress levels, it's dropping your cortisol levels, affecting your hormone and your nervous system, then you're probably in a better place. Doesn't mean you take L-carnitine, but you're probably in a better place to include some other supplements that will actually help you move forward. The other thing about supplements is, yes, supplements are meant to be in addition to your diet, but what I've found is that there's actually some good uses for supplements to help you kickstart your nutritional diet. So for example, I take a greens powder, and I find that when I take a greens powder mixed with protein, I take a protein creatine, and this is just me personally, right? It's not advice, just me personally. I take protein creatine, beetroot powder, and greens. I find when I have that regularly, I'm more inclined to eat better the rest of the day. So it's part of what nutritional intake I'm taking, but the other part of it is how much it sets me up to build other positive habits in my life. And so that's why I like to take it, and it really helps me dial everything else in. So I take it for those reasons. Those are my answers to the questions. That was the first AGA. Stephen Hill, thank you for sending me the book. Happy Hill, great story, mate, and I love your work. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions that you'd like to submit for our next Ask Gaz Anything next week, specifically relating to FebFast, which we're launching a team in next week, please submit them on this group. Please interact and let me know what you think of this video. Any questions, comments, further follow-ups I need to do. Thank you so much for your time, folks. Thank you all for watching. Freya, thank you for watching as well. And I will see you guys next time. This is Coach Gaz from Recalibrate, helping you with your fitness questions. Bye-bye.